Right now, you are surrounded by sound, the hum of a fridge, traffic, the faint electric whine of the screen you're reading this on. You've never actually heard silence, real silence, the kind that existed before engines, before electricity, before the human world got loud. And the strange thing is, when scientists finally built a room with true silence inside it, people couldn't handle it. Their bodies started to panic because your brain was never designed to hear nothing. It was designed to hear you. Let's start with what silence actually is. When you say a room is quiet, you don't mean it's silent. A quiet bedroom at night still measures around 30 decibels. There's always something. The settling of the walls, air moving, the blood in your own ears. 0 decibels is the threshold of human hearing, the quietest sound your body can physically detect. Below 0, there's supposedly nothing left to hear, except there is a room that goes lower. In Minneapolis, inside a building called Orfield Laboratories, there is an anechoic chamber. The word means without echo. The walls, the floor, and the ceiling are covered in thick fiberglass wedges that swallow sound completely. The whole room sits inside double walls of insulated steel and a foot of concrete, so nothing from the outside world can get in. It absorbs 99.99% of all sound. And it has held the Guinness World Record for the quietest place on Earth, measuring around negative 24 decibels. Negative 24. Quieter than the quietest sound a human can hear. Quieter than silence itself. This is not a spa. NASA uses rooms like this to prepare astronauts for the dead, soundless emptiness of space. Companies use it to test how loud a pacemaker is or the click of a switch on a car dashboard. It was built for machines, not for people. But people kept wanting to go inside to see how long they could last. And here's where it gets strange. The longest anyone has ever stayed alone in that room is about 45 minutes. Most people leave it under half that time, not because the room does anything to them. The room is empty. Nothing happens. There's no threat, no danger, no trick. People leave because of what they start to hear themselves. In an ordinary environment, the constant hum of the world masks the sounds your own body makes. You never notice them because there's always something louder. But strip every external sound away, and your ears do something remarkable. They adapt. They turn the sensitivity up. And the quieter the room gets, the more they reach for something to hear, until the only thing left to find is the machinery inside your own skin. First, you hear your heartbeat, loud, closer than it has any right to be. Then you hear your blood, the actual rush of it moving through the vessels in your neck and head, then your lungs. A slow tide pulling in and out, and then the small, horrifying details. The founder of the lab describes people hearing their joints scratch as they move, the faint grind of bones in the neck. Some visitors report hearing their own eyes move in their sockets. A few say they can hear themselves blink. The man who runs the lab puts it in one sentence. In the anechoic chamber, he says, "You become the sound." Think about that. For your entire life, you have been the quietest thing in your own experience, hidden under the noise of the world. And the moment that noise disappears, you discover that you were never quiet at all. You were an orchestra the whole time. You just couldn't hear it over everything else. But the body sounds aren't even the worst part. The worst part is that you stop being able to stand. Here is something most people never think about. You don't balance with your legs, you balance with your whole sensory system, and a huge part of that is sound. Without realizing it, your brain is constantly using the echoes of the room around you, the way your footsteps bounce off the floor and the walls, to map where your body is in space. It's a background process. You've never noticed it because it has never once stopped. In the anechoic chamber, it stops. There are no echoes. There is nothing for the sound of your own movement to bounce off, so the part of your brain that orients you in space suddenly goes blind. The founder of the lab is blunt about it. If you're in there for half an hour, he says, you have to be sitting in a chair, because if you're standing, you'll fall. People become dizzy, nauseous, disoriented in a way that has nothing to do with fear and everything to do with a system losing the input it was built to depend on. And it gets worse if they turn off the lights. The staff often seat visitors in total darkness, removing sound and sight at the same time. Now the brain has lost 2 of the main channels it uses to answer a simple question. Where am I? With no echo and no light, the answer stops coming back, and the mind, with nothing external left to process, turns inward and starts amplifying everything it finds there. So why does this happen? Why can't your brain just enjoy the quiet? Because your brain has never once experienced nothing, and it doesn't know what to do with it. For all of human history, your survival depended on monitoring sound. The snap of a branch, the shift of grass. A sound in the dark meant a predator, or prey, or another person. Your ancestors who could pull meaning out of ambient noise lived. The ones who couldn't, didn't. So your brain evolved into a machine that never stops listening, scanning the background for the one sound that matters. Put that machine in a room with no sound at all, and it doesn't relax. It does the opposite. It turns the gain all the way up, searching harder and harder for input that isn't there, and when it can't find anything outside, it locks onto the only signals left. Your heartbeat, your blood, the faint scrape of your own body. The silence doesn't switch your alertness off. It removes everything your alertness was pointed at and leaves it pointed at you. This is the part almost nobody talks about. We treat silence as the absence of something, but to your nervous system, total silence isn't absence. It's a signal it has never received before, and it responds the only way it knows how, with unease, with the creeping sense that something is wrong, because in 300,000 years of human history, a world this quiet has simply never existed. There has always been wind, insects, rivers, other people breathing nearby in the dark. The truth is that no human being who ever lived until about 70 years ago, when these chambers were first built, had ever experienced true silence. Not one. It is one of the only sensory experiences in the world that is genuinely new to our species. And our species, it turns out, was not ready for it. But here is where the story turns. Because not everyone who enters the room comes out shaken. Some people come out transformed. The same silence that makes one person panic makes another feel something they describe as profound. One man with autism sat in the chamber and told the founder, "I haven't felt this good in years." Some visitors use the room to meditate. They describe the experience not as torture, but as a kind of reset, a stillness so complete that the constant background anxiety of modern life finally goes quiet too. Researchers think periods of deep silence may help people with PTSD and anxiety, though the science is still young. And there's a theory about why. Your brain has a limited amount of energy divided between competing networks. A huge portion of it is normally spent processing the outside world, especially vision and sound. Take all of that away, and that energy doesn't just disappear. It gets redirected inward, into the deeper, more associative parts of the mind. The parts where we make meaning and connections. One man who spent 47 minutes in the chamber came out and described it like a psychedelic experience. He said it shifted something in him permanently. So the room does the same thing to everyone. It strips away the outside world and hands you nothing but yourself. The difference is only in what you find when you get there. For some people, that confrontation is unbearable. For others, it's the most peaceful thing they've ever felt. The silence is just a mirror. What you hear in it is you. And maybe that's the real reason we fill our lives with so much noise. We say we want quiet. We buy the headphones and the apps and book the silent retreats. But true silence, the kind with nothing in it but your own body and your own mind, is something most of us have spent our entire lives avoiding without ever knowing it. We keep a screen glowing, a song playing, a voice in the background, because the alternative is to be alone with the orchestra inside us. And we've never learned how to listen to it. Your ancestors fell asleep to the sound of wind and fire and each other. You fall asleep to a fan or a podcast or the low electric hum of a city that never fully goes dark. You have heard a million sounds in your life, but you have almost certainly never heard the one that was playing underneath all of them the entire time. You've never actually heard silence. And the strange truth is, if you ever did, you wouldn't find emptiness waiting there. You'd find yourself beating, breathing, alive, and louder than you ever imagined. Because your brain was never designed to hear nothing. It was designed to hear you.